Hello, one and all, and welcome back to another thrilling episode of Off the Dome. I'm your humble interviewer, Jordan Brown, and with me for the very first time is Krystina Arielle. Say hi, Krystina Arielle.
Hi, Krystina Arielle.
Oh my goodness, thank you so much for joining me. This is so exciting. People were so excited when I told them that you were going to be sitting down with me. People love you from so many things. I think I came to your attention first because of my deep love of your appearances on Actually. I'm right up there. I want to call them Real Housewives episodes. I know it's a broader reality TV,
I
but
call them Real Housewives episodes. That's what I'm.
Okay, good.
That and
Okay,
The Bachelor and Vanderpump Rules. That's
Yep.
what I'm.
Great. Yeah, I love them so much. It's a thing that I don't watch. So like, I know not any of the answers. I don't know any of the questions usually, but it's something of like you and Glenn and Izzy, the deep passion and like care that you have about the subject is infectious. I
You
guess
will watch a Housewives franchise during our friendship. I need you to know that. You can start with Salt Lake City because it has fewer seasons and it's currently having one of the best seasons that it has ever had. But there are certain things that are now part of pop culture. There are so many Nene Leakes memes used on a daily basis, and these people don't know the basis of these things. They don't know that the whole first season of Real Housewives of New Jersey, like, it's very Mob Wives light. It's great. It's, oh my god, it's fantastic. Like, you have to understand there's so much history behind these things, and it all started at Real Housewives of Orange County, like this one little show that started as like, hey, a social experiment. We're gonna go behind the gates of these people in these gated communities, and then you end up getting the most like honest portrayal, I guess, of women in a way. Like, you have all these different types of women. We have hundreds of housewives now. Like, hundreds of women have been housewives, and like their lives changed. Some of them like came as a means to leave a husband. Some of them came to like have their own independence and start these things. We have somebody like who became a millionaire like doing housewives. It's wild. Like, I love it so much.
So here's a great thing. I'm prepped with a good friend of mine sent me some Housewives questions to ask you. And you mentioned Salt Lake City, so we're going to start there.
You really for me.
Yeah, how would you describe Meredith Marks' accent, specifically when talking about and I'm going to do my best impression here, rumors about Angie's husband?
You want to talk about the rumors and the nastiness? You can leave. Meredith Marks has a wonderful, she's just a beautiful lilt to her voice. I think Danny Pellegrino does it best when he talks about, like, she just is slightly slurred. It's a little bit posh, but also in this way of, I don't know. I mean, there's just some very exaggerated mannerisms that some may be from her time in New York, and also just a very life well lived.
Incredible. It means almost nothing to me. I will tell you my favorite Housewives tagline, because my wife watches some, not all of it. But it is, I may not be the sharpest tool in the shed, but at least I'm pretty. It's so funny, and I don't think intentionally.
No, some of them are very, like, there's one this season on Potomac, and she's like, I don't ride the fence, honey. I am the fence. You ride me. And no one knows what it means. She even has made a reference to being a fence rider this season, and the tagline makes
joyous.
No, and there's a tagline on Real Housewives of Beverly Hills this current season from Crystal Kung Minkoff, who's married to Rob Minkoff, who is the director of The Lion King.
Mm-hmm.
And he also did one of my favorite movies of all time, which is Mr. Peabody and Sherman. And her tagline this season is, people say that wisdom comes with age, and I'm proving them wrong.
That's amazing.
We're going to sit with that one for a minute.
Yeah.
Because they didn't, obviously.
Right, yeah. Oh, it's so good. Okay. I'm just gonna. I can't not now. Miami. Can you walk me through Larsa Pippen dating Michael Jordan's son as if it made sense?
Yes. Oh my gosh. I'm so glad you asked this question. This is hard hitting journalism. This is everything I love. Okay. So obviously we have Larsa Pippen, who was on the first season of Real Housewives of Miami, but she was not asked back. She came back when Miami was rebooted in season 5 because they took an 8-year hiatus before they came back and like did all the stuff, and it was rebooted and brought back to Peacock. So Larsa Pippen comes back, and it's great because the first season they're like, "Oh, you had plastic surgery," and she's like, "No, I didn't." And they do a side by side, and you realize that Larsa Pippen season 1 and Larsa Pippen season 5 are two completely different people. So during this time period, Larsa Pippen and Scottie Pippen are in the process of a divorce. And there's all these different like stories and whatever you want to do about it, but we don't have to get into all that. The best part is that Larsa Pippen last season starts dating a gentleman by the name of Marcus Jordan. Marcus Jordan is the son of Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen, though teammates in one of the greatest possible runs in basketball history, though they were teammates, they were not friends. And I took that personally. No, but and it's great. So Larsa starts dating Marcus. Michael Jordan at one point was asked, "Do you approve of this relationship?" by a paparazzi, to which he said, "Hell no." And also one of the greatest sound bites of all time. Thanks, MJ. So she is dating Marcus Jordan. They have a podcast together. She threw him a welcome home party because he went out of town for 5 days to Florida. Um, And if they get married, she has made it known that she will be keeping the last name. So she will become Larsa Pippen Jordan.
Incredible. It's so good. My friend had texted me like the short version of that, and I was just like, wait, because she was like Larsa Pippen. I was like Scottie Pippen, and she was like, yeah, but not his daughter. And I was like, oh.
And the thing about this is Real Housewives is at the intersection of some of the largest pop culture stories and things that have happened of recent years. Like even with Tom Girardi. Tom Girardi was a very famous lawyer in Los Angeles. He was the one of the representatives, Aaron Brockovich, in that case. Like there's a character that represents him in the movie. He was like in all these associations, had all this money. His wife comes on to Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. Tom Girardi ends up going to jail because it turns out that he had stolen money over the years from his clients directly from their things. That's a insane story. This man was disbarred. It's a huge thing. And then it links back to Housewives. The Marvel Cinematic Universe also links directly to the Real Housewives because you have Garcelle Beauvais, who was in Spider-Man, and she played the wife of Vulture. So you have your intersections there. The number of professional athletes that are in, Michael Jordan is now a part of Housewives lore in the fact that his son is dating Larsa Pippen, ex-wife of Scottie Pippen, his former teammate. Like these things, like there's so much. People are like, how do you talk about this so much? Because there's so much to talk about.
And it's one of the reasons why there have been 2 full actuallys about it. When they called you in for that, I've got more questions, don't worry. We'll come back to them. When they called you in for that, how excited were you of like, did you know when they called you like, hey, we're doing a Real Housewives episode? Or did you find out like on day of?
No, they told me we were doing reality TV. And the first thing in my mind is like, are we going to have confessionals? Are we going to have taglines? Even on these episodes, they do the Dropout logo in the style of the Bravo logo. We get confessionals. Why would I say no to that? I would never be a Real Housewife. Like, I like a certain level of anonymity. I like going to the grocery store and knowing absolutely no one. That's why I moved far from home. But you're telling me that I get to do everything I love as an homage to the thing that I love? Yes. Yes. This is not a question. I will be at the studio yesterday. Do this again. I love everything about this. And when I tell you, those were genuine emotions when they said we're going to do a quiz of like Real Housewives taglines. We wanted that so bad. The conversations that we have in the makeup chair while we're getting ready and talk like just like deep dives into Housewives. And Izzy, it is an honor to beat Izzy Rowland at actually, or to win against, because you don't beat Isabella Rowland. Because if it was like head to head, like it would be very intense because we have very similar brains. But she is so smart. She knows so much, and when she said, like, she says it with such fire and passion, and I love like being around someone who loves that same thing that you do just as much. And Glenn too. Like Glenn looks like a housewife. Glenn is amazing. Glenn is so funny. She's so witty. She's just like, oh my gosh, amazing. And also she has a really great book called There Are Worse Moms Than You. And I love that for me. Uh but oh, I love them actually so much. Like just those episodes mean so much to me. And I've done other episodes, but that, like those Housewives episodes, if they called me once a year and said, come back and do this, I would be like, okay, I will clear out my calendar and have a standing day. I will turn down traveling the world to go and do actually reality TV. I also just have that much respect for Dropout and what they do, and for Sam and for Brennan and for all the, like, I have so much respect for those people on a different plane of like walk the walk. They're just what they built over there, and built it while also staying so true to who they are and trying to, like, they're not just talking about capitalism and against capitalism, like they're actually like, maybe they have their part in it because of the nature of this business, but they still are people first, and I love and respect that so much.
Yeah, they announced profit sharing this year with all freelancers, not just like full-time staff and stuff. I saw Kevin Stiller, who was one of their DPs, like had posted the email of like, I don't even work for them full time, which it seems it's one of the reasons why I don't shut up about them.
When I got that email the other day, I like went to my husband and I was like, no, you need to sit down and listen to this. This is wild. This is incredible. And just like, it's like, that's what I mean. Like they do stuff like that. Like that is like, you see an entire industry come to a halt because people don't want to pay a fair wage to the people who created the work, who played a part in it. Like they're not just saying, hey, talent, like this is for you. Hey, execs, this is for you. It is literally like top to bottom line. Like it is fantastic that they can do that. It is a remarkable business practice. And like when you see something like that, especially when you get to be involved in it, it's mind blowing. You feel so appreciated. And that's really hard to find, like as a freelancer, as lane makers upper as myself, like to find somebody that respects you enough to pay you for your time. That is so admirable, because it is like you look at these studios that could not agree to give the talent, anybody, like proper residuals, like
Yeah.
proper streaming residuals, when they are actually making large amounts of money. Dropout is this independent studio that is doing all of the things, and it's not a problem. They're just doing it because it's the right thing to do. Like it just seems like common sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, new industry standard. You heard it here first. I will say also though, the actually once a year reality or Housewives episode we would watch. I can tell you with 100% certainty. Like when I made like a little TikTok where I was like, here are my like 5 favorite like actually episodes, and obviously like Housewives was in there, but I consider both of them one, because that way I could cheat and have 5 instead of you being 2 of them. And everyone was like, yeah, I don't watch the Housewives, I love those episodes. And I think there is something really infectious about like people who care a lot. In fact, all of mine were like, it was like the wrestling episode, the new dad episode. They were all ones where it was people knew a lot about their subjects, and it wasn't just that like blind feeling through a question to try and like figure out like where they've tried to trip you up, but like, nope, I've got the answer. Like, or even if you don't, like at the end of the question, you're like, oh, I should have known it because, and then you have your like very fun story. So yes, I don't know who we need to yell at, but more Housewives.
The hardest part of that in general is when you ask the question and you're trying to like break down piece by piece, like, how is this wrong? Like, it's very intense. It is. And my brain works by association. Like, it's gonna go 47 different lanes because you know, neurodivergent. So I can't like just do it. And so like I'll end up giving someone else on the couch the answer because I'm like out loud, like, oh no, okay, well if this is this and this is this and then this, no, because this happened on this season. If you go back to this episode and this is like, that's like the whole thing that's like all synapses firing.
Yeah, it very much reminds me of if you've seen the New Dad episode when Caldwell quietly mutters to himself, "Where the fuck's the recycling dog?" Talking about Paw Patrol, and like
Rocky.
Yeah. Yes, we have not hit our Paw Patrol phase yet here with a 2-year-old. We're fully in Blippy territory right now. I'm excited for better television.
There is a joke in the Paw Patrol movie, the first one. And the Paw Patrol is like just gotten this new big tower in Adventure City. And they're like, how are we paying for this? And they're like, officially licensed Paw Patrol merchandise. And when I tell you, this Christmas in particular, they put out a movie in September, the Mighty Pups movie. And then they start dropping the toys. When I tell you my son for his birthday, like he has a Paw Patrol tower that is about that big that he got from somebody. And all he wants this Christmas is a Paw Patroller. They released a giant Paw Patroller that fits all of the individual full-size like toy trucks of the Paw Patrol. And it has a launcher on it. They also, this movie, do you know what they added? Like a military base. Like, do we want to talk about the militarization of the Paw Patrol? But they now have a legit like military battleship with ramps that they ride their things down, which are driven by their paws, which they can just put on the thing. Like instead of like a steering wheel, they just like use their little paws. But it's a giant ship thing. It is $136.
Oh boy.
When I tell you the toys, just like those people are making money hand over fist. And it's my money, so I don't like that. And I'm so happy that he has moved into Pokemon right now. Because I will listen to that theme song 47 times. I will memorize every Poke Rap before I will sit there and watch another episode of Paw Patrol.
Yeah, we're my wife and I are pushing hard for Bluey right now. Just like, hey, but like we've got him into like the iPad game where he gets to like color them. We're like, now how about on TV instead of Pink Fong? What do you think? But we haven't landed there yet.
It's so good though. Like it's
we've watched a bunch of episodes when he was like real little and couldn't tell us to turn the channel yet.
Oh, when they start like telling you what they are gonna do, not asking, like when they start telling you what they're gonna do, it is such a whoa, it's a game changer.
Yeah. All right. Should we just dive back into another housewife question?
Jordan, I'm just excited to be hanging out with you. Like this is just a hangout for me. Like I watch all your TikToks and stuff.
All right. Is Jenna Lyons a good fit? But more importantly, why is Sai such a bad fit?
Ooh. Okay, I think that Jenna Lyons is actually a good fit because I do think that there needs to be one housewife looking at everyone going, do you not see how ridiculous you're being? And she may not say it in the moment. She just kind of observes and takes it all in and then gives like, she's a reliable narrator. So she's going to give an objective opinion in the thing. I think it's great for her brand to be on the show. Yes, she is Jenna Lyons. She had name like recognition before that. She used to dress Michelle Obama. She was the head stylist for J. Crew, like the head of creative. She is an extremely powerful. She was in charge of the like all the new stores that are in Times Square, like that renovation to like bring more like stores owned by people of color. Like she's spearheaded those things. She's fantastic. I think she is absolutely necessary. But I also, as much as people want to say Sai is not necessary, because they're like, what does she bring? And she's complaining about being hungry all the time. This is a first season of a reboot of a Housewives show, of a beloved franchise of a Housewives show. So I think that some grace has to be exhibited in giving those women a chance to find their footing and kind of become who they are. And there's going to be so much residual stuff because you start off when you are a new franchise, you're like, oh my God, we love each other. Like, we're all just so we're friends. Like, we've got a group chat. Like, everybody talks every day. But then, like, they start watching the show as it comes out and seeing what's said in the confessional. So in these Housewives confessionals, you're getting the full breakdown of what someone else is thinking, thus creating more animus and feelings. And as much as people want to say, like, that's what Housewives has become at this point. It used to be like with New York. New York actually started a show called, it wasn't a Housewives franchise. It originally started as a show called Manhattan Moms, and it was about like the mom game in New York. So that's how it kind of had this feel in the very first season, where it's like, oh, like very like, oh, these are my children, like this is, except they had Bethany Frankel, who was the one non-married person. And we got to see her over the course of the show get married, have a kid, all that fun stuff. Become a millionaire with her by selling her brand to Jack Daniels. But it's so like, the evolution is important. We need the drama. We need the things. So it started as Manhattan Moms, and then it becomes a housewife show. But you, at these dinner parties, when people are like, the one lady gets upset because a woman brings her husband to the dinner and it was supposed to just be a women's dinner. So that's going to go to the reunion. The reunion is going to bring all that stuff back up that you've either since processed, plus you've watched the show, plus you've watched the confessionals, then you've watched the reunion. So then you go into your next season and you have so much that you're like low-key still bitter or mad about. And so now we have that with Sai going back into this new season. Like, Sai is saying that Brynn is the culprit, like doing all these interviews. And it used to be that we had Housewives blogs. Like, the Housewives, after every episode, would release a blog. And that was how we got kind of their thoughts. Then we got social media. So now you have them doing press, doing these interviews, doing Watch What Happens Live, and more stuff is said, and then Watch What Happens Live stuff gets stirred up. Now you have BravoCon, and so now BravoCon is becoming a part of the plots and on the shows because there's stuff that happening. Oh, who was the rudest person to you at Bravo? Who was the rudest housewife you met at Bravo? And it's not just Housewives. You have Housewives, you have Below Deck, and there's multiple Below Decks. There's like Below Deck Med, Below Deck Sailing Yacht. Like, there's all of these new shows. There's Vanderpump Rules, there's Southern Charm, then there's Southern Charm has its own spinoff, and then Summer House is a spinoff of Vanderpump Rules, and then Winter House is a spinoff of Summer House, and then on top of that you have Summer House Martha's Vineyard, which is also a spinoff that are ultimately spinoffs of Vanderpump Rules, which was a spinoff of Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, which has one of the best backdoor transitions into a new show that you will ever see. We're watching Brandi Glanville sit down. Brandi Glanville, notoriously, her husband, Eddie Cibrian, left her for LeAnn Rimes, country singer. You know, blue. Yeah. So he leaves her for LeAnn Rimes. It's a whole big thing. It's a gigantic tabloid story. She comes onto the Real Housewives. So one of the employees, at least at Vanderpump's restaurant, in her big chain of like restaurants that she runs, like a downtown adult Disneyland for Bravo fans when they come, because you can go to all the restaurants and go boop, boop, boop. So Lisa Vanderpump employs one of the women who was sleeping with Eddie Cibrian, Sheena Shea, at the time. This is a long time ago. She is now a happily married woman and a mother, and all of this is past, but it is history of the show. So Brandi gets upset because Lisa keeps having Sheena be the waitress at the parties and hiring her to do catering and come to do these events. And so Lisa's like, oh no, darling, why don't you come just and sit down, and you can sit down with Sheena and we'll talk about it. So on the end of this episode of Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, you have Sheena Shea sit down with Brandi Glanville, and they have this moment. She's like, I'm sorry, like, da-da-da. He told me he was like, y'all weren't together, blah, blah, blah. Anywho, Sheena Shea gets up from this table in this contentious conversation, and she walks into the kitchen of the restaurant, directly into the first episode of Vanderpump Rules.
Incredible.
Music change, door swing, beautiful. It's like poetry. It rhymes. It's amazing. It is art. It is fucking art. You have all of these shows, right? And now you have all these people at BravoCon having these interactions. You have the crossing of the shows. We had our first trade in the Housewives franchise. We had Taylor Armstrong go from Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. She's the first full-time transfer, because she was transferred to Real Housewives of Orange County, and she's been off the show for years, but now she's on that show. And now we're seeing Cynthia Bailey from Real Housewives of Atlanta pop up on Real Housewives of Beverly Hills and be a friend of on that show. Like, the madness continues and the world just keeps getting bigger and the web keeps going wider. And it's all on this nest that was built on the 5 tenets of Bravo, which were founded on the 5 tenets of Queer Eye for the Straight Guy. Like, those are the things. Entertainment, home renovations, all of those things are the tenets that Bravo was founded upon. And now we have even more drama that's going to come back into the shows. So we need everybody, because I want to know about all of those interactions.
Amazing. I followed some of that, but I love it so much, and now I feel like I need to watch to like really understand all of it, which feels dangerous.
There's actually a book that you can read. There are 2. There's Not All Diamonds and Rosé, and then there's The History of the Housewives. There's 2 of the great books, and they have pretty much all of the history that not all of the history. It's like they interview some housewives, but Bravo's very like on like book parts of that they're not a part of but they are great little tomes of history of what has happened in all of these years of Housewives and how Bravo became the behemoth that it is.
It's incredible. All right. Speaking of art, and you sang, so this is a transition that makes sense. Bob, what an icon. I think Pirates is such an like criminally underrated season. I think because it happened during like lockdown, people like don't want to remember it, but like it holds such a sincere, dear place in my heart because it is exactly what I needed during lockdown. And so I feel like, yeah. And also I will say this, a heavy hitter of a season. Like, that cast is stacked. When I think about that season, though, I think about you first. Tell me about Bob, where she came from, where, like, how was that character creation process?
I think I basically told Brennan that I wanted to, because it was a rough season of life, obviously. Like, it was pandemic. I'd lost my dad. Like, it was just like hit after hit after hit, postpartum depression, like all of these things. And I was miserable. I was very, very sad. And my only outlet at that time, really, for myself was playing D&D, was like doing these games with my friends. And so when Brennan called me and asked me to do it, I like just started thinking about this character who was like joyful, who was everything, who was like, I feel like my characters never really like click with people in a way like some characters do. And it wasn't about creating a character who was iconic. It was just about basically creating, what if Beyonce existed in the Dimension 20 world and she was just like, it's a little bit of that, a little bit of Dorothy Dandridge, a little bit of Marilyn Monroe, a little bit of Audrey from Little Shop of Horrors. But one of my favorite lines of like pop culture history type thing is a line Marilyn Monroe says, "Do you want to see me become her?" Like, basically Norma Jean saying, like, "Do you want to see me become her?" And Bob is one of those characters where she is my, like, go from Krystina, "Do you want to see me become her?" Like, so everything about Barbarella Sasparilla Gainglynn makes me so happy because she's just this character that, like, she's my heart on the outside of my body, but like not like in a gruesome type way, you know? Like, I love everything about her. I love that voice. Like, she was the personification of the joy that I wasn't actually feeling at the time, and I needed her. And I still, like, in my heart, like, I saw Sam at a thing for Daisy Quest, and I was just like, I miss Bob. I love her. Like, if you ever want to bring her back, I will drop everything to bring her back. I love her. And he's like, I love her too. And like that conversation and all that fun stuff. But like, God, I love her. Like, there's wings hanging on my thing here that my husband got me. Like, he knows how much she means to me. He got me full size wings. And like, man, like, I know she's my character. She's my thing, but like, she's special. Like, she was very special to me. And like, to get to like make up songs. Like, I was writing all of those songs as I was sitting at the table because I can't pre-write my songs because I don't know what's going to happen. Like D&D is not such that I go in with a song written. It's I'm sitting at the table and you'll see my head drop, my pen start going really fast, and I will like like writing spells as songs. And like to be able to do that in that way, and to spoiler alert if you haven't seen the end of it, to be like this character who everyone compliments and like loves and all this stuff, and then there's like one person that says something that's like slightly like not reverential, and you kind of like see her destroy a big bad with like, I mean, like she's got bless your heart energy. It's great.
Yeah, I love Bob. I mean, that makes me so happy. Everything about you makes me so happy. But yes, Bob in particular, like I said, like Matt Mercer, B. Dave Walters, Abria, like all those folks. And when I think
Carlos,
yes, yeah.
Lucky your buddies deserve respect. Put some respect on us and put us in the dome.
That's right. That is, funnily enough, one of the things that I do is like I reach out to the people that follow me for like questions when I announce like a new interview. And one of the questions for you was, when is she going to be back in the dome? So Carlos, get her back in the dome. Yeah, that's right. Yes, that's right. When are you going to be in the dome? Yes. Yeah, Carlos.
Yeah, Carlos.
Get her in the dome.
You want to crit, Carlos? Then critically put me inside the dome.
A coward if you don't.
Pox on you if
you don't. Bob was very special. That season was very special. It was very funny. Also, this entirely irrelevant, but when Abria, like, if you're watching Burrow's End, she like there was like a cameo coming up, and she said, "I'd tell you who it was, but it was cheesy." And all these people were like, "It's Zach Oyama because it's Colin Provolone," and it was Carlos because he's cheese. And it was very fun to get to like. To hear her. Also, it was very fun because I had seen the episode already, so I knew who it was, and I watched all these like wild speculations of like Zach Oyama like walking in and joining the table, and I was like, it's Carlos Luna on tape. All right.
Oh, love it so much.
He's so good. Okay. Potomac. Did Juan Dixon just pay for the girls' hotel room, or did something else go on there?
Allegedly. Because far be it for me speculate. Okay, so let's give a little background on the people that don't know anything about Real Housewives of Potomac. So Juan Dixon is a former professional basketball player. He's married to a woman who is a Real Housewives of Potomac named Robin Dixon. Season 1, they were divorced and still living together because they had children, and also because they had lost all of their money because they got taken in like Bernie Madoff style Ponzi scheme. So they had lost all their money, and they ultimately like build back. Juan is literally on camera one season talking to production on a hot mic, saying, "I wouldn't even be here if it weren't for the kids."
Not great.
Yeah. Like, so he says this like on a hot mic. Continue on. They get back together. They get engaged. Juan hooks up with a lady in Canada. This one he confesses to. He cheated during COVID because she was depressed and that was not attractive. And I'm not saying that. That is what this man said. So follow that as we get to the point of, do I think that this man paid for this hotel room? Anywho, so they are going through all this stuff. They're raising their boys together. Like, he like acts like he's going to turn it around. Mind you, this man rarely shows up to a group event. Like, he doesn't show up to the reunions to like sit beside her and like put his hand on her shoulder when they do the husband segment. He's been like maybe 2 reunions. So Juan Dixon goes, and this lady sends her text in to the blogs, and she says that Juan Dixon and her had hooked up. His excuse for them hooking up is he had talked to this lady in his DMs, yes, and they had been DMing back and forth, but nothing happened. She was actually coming to see a Baltimore Ravens football player, and she lost her wallet in the casino. So she called him, and asked him to come and put his credit card down at the hotel to get her a room because she could not get in touch with this player and she did not have her wallet. Do we think that Juan slept with this woman? Allegedly, yes.
That's a good recap.
It's a wild ass story. And then the fact that he still continues to like, her tagline this season is, I just took a DNA test and I 100% don't care. Because after the reunion, after they made up this storyline last season that Candace's husband was like trying to flirt with them and slide in their DMs and all this stuff, that whole time she had been hiding the storyline, knowing that she had all these receipts and that the woman had come forward and said it, and she was like, they were coming for Candace's husband, and she's like, oh, like, if you're gonna do something, like, be smart about it. So after the reunion has been taped, she puts out a special Patreon only episode of her podcast where she reveals the story behind it, giving you the story that I just told you about Juan just like putting his credit card down. She puts it behind a paywall. Behind a paywall. When you have been on a television show for almost 10 years. You've been on this television show and you decided to go to Patreon and put it on the Patreon behind a paywall. So then Andy Cohen and everybody is upset. Candace is mad. Candace is like, y'all came for my husband all season and you knew that this was happening. It gets wild. Like, so much so that this season, the filming is so tense that it is palpable while you are watching the show. It is a clear divide. In all reality television, there is basically it's teams. We know that. It's teams. You're this team, you're this team. You guys may not be friends, but you are in alliance. Like, the alliances are so hardcore split that they barely want to be in the room together. It is madness. But yes, that man did it.
All right. I feel like this is a team question. I'm not actually sure. Beverly Hills, are you a slutton?
I am. I love Sutton Strack. I actually dressed up as Sutton Strack. One of my stylists, Quentin Fears, and one of the designers, who's a friend of mine, Giovanna Benoit, she designed the infamous orange jacket that Sutton wore to the dinner party from hell where they confronted Erica Jane. And I got to wear that jacket. And Sutton is from Georgia. Everything about her reminds me of every woman I know in Georgia. Like, her mannerisms, the way she does it. Like, she is a Southern lady through and through. But she is rich. Like, after taxes, I get $300,000 a month alimony rich. And that's not counting, like, she found out she hired a forensic accountant when she was getting divorced. She found out her husband owned 2 baseball teams. That, like, he had all of this stuff. She has her own plane. Do you know who her best friend is? Jennifer Tilly. Jennifer Tilly is a friend of the Housewives on Real Housewives of Beverly Hills this season. Do you know how much that means to me? Well, as a child, I was terrified of Chucky. And then I watched Bride of Chucky, and I fell in love with Jennifer Tilly in a way that I had not loved her since Bella Mafia, which was a Lifetime movie about all of these mobsters who were killed off and so their wives took over the mob. Like, I love Jennifer Tilly. She is amazing. She's everything to me. She's a professional poker player. And now she is a friend of on the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. And that is beautiful. And that would not happen if it weren't for Sutton Strack. And also, Sutton had this moment in the last episode. She gets into it with Kyle Richards. And Kyle was like, you're erratic. You have these fits. And you do these things. And you like have these fits and these tantrums. And Satan goes, name them. And she's like, name them. You're being rude. Name them. Iconic.
Oh, I love it. I love it so much. I have a game I want to play with you, but before I jump into it, Adventure Quest. You're going to play D&D in a castle.
I am.
In Ohio, but in a castle. What is that? What are you? I assume you're excited because it's very fun. What can you tell me a bit about it? What you know, what you can tell.
I am excited because I have not DM'd. And so it will be my first time DMing
That is shocking to me.
It will be my first time DMing something that is very important to me, has been alluded to in the past. If you ever read the chapter Krystina Arielle, Will You Accept This Rose, in the book by Shelley Mazzanoble and Greg Tito about dragon talk. You will see exactly what I'm talking about, but I'm working on that thing. I'm very excited about it. Yeah, so to be able to DM, and would you like to know what my deal breaker was? Like, this is the thing, like, when I'm deciding travel, like, I go based on, like, obviously my children first and what's best for them, and so that I'm not gone, like, more than any, like, amount of sleeps. Like, I don't want to be gone really more than 2 sleeps if I can avoid it. Honestly, I don't want to be gone more than, like, a night and then a, like, travel day. But I'm going to Ohio, which is close to where I, like, spent part of my childhood in Covington, Kentucky. And when I'm making all of these decisions, one of the most important things is, what food can I eat that I am a fan of? So going to Ohio and being near Kentucky, I am going to be able to get White Castle. I'm going to be able to get Grippo's barbecue potato chips. I'm going to be able to get Skyline chili. I'm going to be able to get Penn Station subs. But most important of all of these things, I will be able to get Barks Red Cream Soda, which is a very regional beverage, and it is one of my favorite sodas of all time. And I not only get to hang out with my friends in a castle and, like, just live my best Disney princess life, I get to drink red cream soda.
It's amazing. I grew up in St. Louis, so I know most of the things you just said. Like, I was, like, close enough that I got most of those. Also, tickets are on sale now. Like, go, I think, probably.
Tickets are on sale now on the Adventure Quest website. You can get there through the McElboys and
Yeah.
the McElroy family Instagram, any of those things. You should be able to find a link.
You can find a link.
It's like me and Iffy and Sandeep, and I'm very. It's I like to try something different, and for me, this is something different because I'm very much an extremely anxious and awkward person, though I'm very good at adapting socially. But I also will go home and talk about how, like, my brain will tell me how much everyone hated me and I talked too much and I was very weird and off-putting. And I think that everyone is annoyed by me. So going into a situation where I don't necessarily, well, the one thing I do like about it is Travis is like, you will have, like, your own space to, like, decompress. And I have to have that because I get very, very overwhelmed because I want to give everybody equal attention. And, like, I don't want anybody to ever leave from me feeling like away, like feeling like they weren't, like, their time wasn't special, like that I'm like some special thing. But, like,
you are a special thing. My time feels very special right now. So
I want people to feel the joy that I feel being there, that somebody cares enough to talk to me or to, like, pay to go and play D&D in a castle with me. Like, that's wild. I want to be able to, like, give my all and also enjoy the fact that I can sleep with no one touching me. And by that, I mean my children. Like, no one's climbing into my bed at 2 a.m. It's just me and a blackout curtain and I'm asleep. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the sleep, the community, and the food.
Oh, I love it. Okay. Real Housewives of Coruscant. Can you cast a Real Housewives seasons across time and space? Because obviously, if, like, I was like original series, you would have Mon Mothma and Leia, and then, like, you'd be out of people. A real Star Wars Real Housewives. Do you have thoughts? I've got one. If you want a minute to think. The Armorer, and then her tagline would be, "This is the way to having it all."
That is perfection. And
Thank you. I've been able to work on it for a full week, so.
Oh no, I love that. So obviously, okay, so say we're talking like a traditional, like, 5-person housewife cast, 2 friends of. So obviously we're going Padme, because Padme has one, she's a high-powered woman. She has a secret marriage and pregnancy. And she's diplomatic, but you also know her confessionals would be, like, vicious.
Yeah.
Like, if somebody has a comeback, like, this is how democracy dies with thunderous applause, like, you know, they got some reads inside of them. So I believe that Padme would be a really good reader. Leia is the obvious choice because, I mean, she's going to read you for filth. She's going to be the housewife that reads you for filth to your face. And I respect that. Like, she's gonna say the same energy she has in the confessional. She's gonna have that same energy like to your face. She's like a Candace Dillard Bassett of Real Housewives of Potomac. Like, that is like she's a Princess Leia. Like, she's a General Organa. Like, that's what we're getting. We're not getting Princess Leia. We're getting General Organa. Like, that's our housewife. Okay, so General Organa is gonna be our other housewife. She has the reads that we would need. And then we have okay, so we've said Padme, we've said her. Rey is too young to be a housewife. I'm sorry. She's not there yet. I am going to go with Keeve Trennis, Jedi Master Keeve Trennis from the High Republic era. And Gira Starros from, so not only like she's in the Senate, and she's also hooking up with Marchion Ro. So that's really intense. So like I love a little flavor in my housewife. So it's like she's diplomatic, but she also is, I'm going to stab you in the front and the back. And I value that. I appreciate it. Mon Mothma, because the Bob be bobbing, and we need her. Like, I mean, just, whoo, love. All right, now who are our friends of? Friends of, nope, she's too young. Nope, she doesn't work. Oh, you know who I'm gonna go? Harrison Dula. Harrison Dula is my friend of first season, becoming a full season housewife the next round. All right, and finally, who are we gonna go with?
I mean, Katie Sackhoff, full like reclining in a like throne, feels like another choice there.
I mean, no, because then I would go 6, because Bo-Katan would need to be like, Bo-Katan is main character energy. Like, she needs to be
you're right.
housewife, and she also is a read you for filth type housewife, and we really do need that. So I will make that 6 and then do my friend of.
Okay. So follow up. Where would the cast trip be?
Oh, I think that somebody would be like, oh my gosh, you guys, I'm so excited about where we're going. We're going to Mustafar! Except one housewife is not smiling. And that housewife is Padme Amidala. And she says, I think it's really funny that they would plan a trip to Mustafar when they know all the things that transpired. I just really feel like they didn't consider me and my feelings and my emotional attachment to this space. And then on the trip, she'd be like, oh my God, Padme, what's wrong? No, nothing. And then they would get to a dinner and they would sit around a table. It'd be in Vader's castle, chilling. Listen, I know this timeline is all off, but it's my fantasy, so leave me alone.
Yeah.
So they're sitting around, and then, boom, I want Padme to flip the table. And she's like, do you understand the things that I've been through here? And it wasn't even the childbirth. And people want to say it's because I'm weak. Absolutely not. I wasn't even dead. I was faking my death because I needed a vacation. She wasn't dead. She just needed to like get out of there, and she didn't want to have to face that. She was like, F it, we ball. I'm starting a new life on a new planet.
Oh, incredible.
You know who she's living with? Who's she living with? Who's she hiding with? Like, who would Padme be hiding with for all of these years? In that cave with Obi-Wan Kenobi.
I like it.
Just saying.
It's very good. Yeah, it's very good.
Awesome.
Do you think they could do a VPR of the Mos Eisley Cantina, the your walkthrough new show starts?
Oh my God, yes. That would be so good. And Cy Snoodles could come in as the Lisa Vanderpump. I want that for me. Oh my God, Max Rebo is James Kennedy. Like, he's the DJ that's sitting over there like, boom, 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 boom. Oh my God, that'd be so good. That'd be so good.
Oh my gosh.
We'd like to welcome you all out to Mos Eisley Cantina. See you next Tuesday. It's a great night. You're Let's go. Boom, boom. DJ Max Rebo on the beat. Boom, 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 boom.
Oh my god. This was as delightful as it could have possibly been. I can't believe it's almost been an hour already. I thank you so much for joining me. It was everything I wanted and more. If the folks want to follow you on the various socials, where can they find you?
You can find me on Instagram and Threads at Krystina Arielle. Lurking somewhere on X still, but blocking half the world. And that's at Krystina Arielle. And on TikTok at Krystina Arielle Tigner, because someone took Krystina Arielle, which is very weird because my name is spelled a very particular way. And so that's just very odd to me. But yeah, Krystina Arielle Tigner on there. And yeah, do that.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Krystina, thank you so much. This was an absolute delight. People are going to lose their minds when they watch this. I cannot wait for people to see this. This was incredible.
This was so much fun. It's a pleasure to finally I feel like I know your personality from your videos and from the things, and you just have this joyful, excitable energy, and so to see it in practice and actually have a conversation with you where we're not just commenting back and forth is really, really nice. And this is super fun for me, and I will come talk to you anytime. I will do Housewives breakdowns and tell you all about it.
I'm going to hold you to it. Thank you so much. This was amazing.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.